So you're new to Genshin, you do a 10 pull on the current banner, and you get 5-star Neuvillette. Now what do you get with Neuvillette besides an otter in disguise? Neuvillette is a catalyst-wielding Hydro user whose entire kit revolves around his charged attacks. And in this video, we're going to look at Neuvillette, we're going to look at his entire kit, and we're going to look at some beginner-friendly weapons and artifacts, as well as talk about some later build stuff as well. So just like we do in every one of these videos, we are going to look at the current build of the current Neuvillette that we are looking at. Thank you, Certs, for letting me use your Neuvillette for this video. One, it can be a look at a future build for Neuvillette, or a more complete build, in which this case it very much is. This Neuvillette is built fairly well. Or if this Neuvillette is hitting more than yours, it could be the weapon, it could be the artifacts. This is a good way of telling what it is. This Neuvillette is level 90 out of 90 with 35,581 HP without Hydro Resonance, which is the most important stat. Elemental Mastery 93, which can be important depending on the team. The crit split is 67 over 225.2 with 109% energy recharge. This Neuvillette is running a level 90 Sacrificial Jade, which we'll talk more about the weapons, including this weapon, later on in the video. They are running a 4-piece Marshmallow Hunter set, which is great because that 67% crit rate would actually be over 100% with the 4-piece of this artifact set, but we'll talk more about that later. C0 and talents are 9, 6, 7. Now you notice that the normal attack talent is the highest. Now it's time to get into his kit. So we are going to go look at his normal attacks, his charged attacks, his skill, his charged attacks again, his burst, and then his charged attacks for a third time. Now we're going to first look at his normal attacks. He is a catalyst user, so his normal attacks are going to have the element Hydro in them all the time, not necessarily a physical damage. He's going to be snapping, he's going to be stomping the cane, doing his normal attacks. Now for his charge attacks. Whenever you hold down the normal attacks to do the charge attack, you are going to get this ring in front of him. He's also going to kind of hover up off the ground. Once that ring is charged, which you can see the outline of it, it is then going to fire a Hydro Pump-esque attack at the enemies, dealing damage to any enemy in its area, in its kind of, straight line. It's going to go through one enemy and hit the enemy behind it. So now we're going to look at his skill. And his skill is going to do an instance of AoE Hydro damage, as well as putting these 3 blue orbs on the field. What these 3 orbs do is as soon as he starts his charged attack, you don't have to wait for it to actually charge up. He can just do it, and he's going to be doing it for the entire duration. Something else, whenever he does his charge attacks, you will notice that he will lose HP if he is above 50% HP. That does help trigger that 4-piece Marshmallow Hunter set that we were looking at the beginning. Once you use his skill once and you do the charge attack once, after that you have to then do the normal charged attacks. You have to have those 3 orbs on the field to get the instant charge attack. Now we're going to look at his burst. And what his burst is going to do is that his burst is going to do a couple different instances of AoE Hydro damage, as well as putting 6 of those orbs on the field. If you use his charge attack, it's going to use up 3 of the 6, instantly doing the charge attack. But then once that first charge attack is done, you can immediately use the other 3 orbs to do another charged attack. That's what I mean by his entire kit revolves around his charge attacks. They are his strongest weapon, his strongest attacks in his kit. So something else is that whenever you use the orbs from his skill or his burst, he heals himself. Another thing is that I know that there is a problem with the audio. My mic was peaking the whole time. I apologize for that. I am actually sick and I'm not re-recording it. I'm so sorry, but I could barely stand in the lights to film this video to begin with. Now, all of his attacks do scale off of HP, which is why I said earlier that max HP, that 35,000 HP, is the important stat. We don't necessarily care about attack, we care about HP. Also, whenever he does his skill, he does do the Pneuma attack. You'll see this kind of white light come down. That is the Pneuma attack, kind of introduced in Fontaine. That comes with his skill, whereas a lot of the other Fontaine characters, it comes with their normal attacks. Okay, so real quick, I do want to look at his passives, and we're going to talk about them. His first one, when a Hydro-related reaction occurs, it is going to give a past Draconic History effect for 30 seconds with a max of 3 of them. Whenever you have all 3 of them, his charged attacks are going to do more damage. 110% for one stack, 125% for the second stack, and 160% for the third stack. Each one of them is counted individually. So Just because one ends, it doesn't mean all 3 of them ends. Each one of them will have a 30-second timer. His other passive is that for each 1% of his current HP, not max, current, greater than 30% of max HP, he will be getting a 0.6% hydro damage bonus. So you do kind of need to keep him healthy, but his HP is going to be fluctuating a lot. Like as you can see right here, he only has 18%, and you can see his HP is right around half, I believe. Now, if we cause that reaction, which in this case is going to be a bloom reaction, you're going to notice that the numbers are going to go up with the charge attacks. If we cause like a vaporize reaction, then it's going to go up even further for the charged attacks. You see now we're getting 14,000, 14.8,000 versus the 12 or 11,000 that we were kind of starting with. And then once we get more reactions, we can get up into the 15,000s per charged attacks. Now, none of this is with buffs. This is all with just causing those reactions for his passive. So one thing that he is susceptible to whenever he's doing these charge attacks is going to be interruption. If he is hit while he is doing the charge attack, it will interrupt the charge attack, and you just kind of have to start over. Now we're going to look at an artifact set. So for a beginner artifact set, 4-piece Martial Artist is going to be his best set because it does get up your charge attack damage, and then once you use a skill, it will increase his charge attack damage even further. So this is going to be a very, very good set early on for him until you can get something like Marshmallow Hunter, which the 4-piece of that, whenever your current HP increases or decreases, it increases your crit stat, which is what I mean by that 67% crit rate is actually over 100 because he hurts himself with his charge attack. So you'll always be able to get the passive from this. But I just wanted to mention that because this works phenomenal with his kit for later on. But beginning off, Martial Artist set is going to be your best. For the main stats, HP percent Sands because he does scale off of HP. HP or Hydro Damage Goblet. It's going to come down to the substats, and it's going to come down to the other party members that you have, the other teammates that you have with him. HP percent is probably going to be easier to get, so running double HP percent is not going to be a bad thing. For the circlet, crit rate or crit damage really depends on what you need more of, depends on what set you're running, depends on what weapon you're running, but it's going to be either crit rate or crit damage. Now for weapons. This current Neuvillette has a 4-star Sacrificial Jade. This is a Battle Pass weapon, so you can get this early game if you spend money. It does get up crit rate. Its passive you won't really be able to use because Neuvillette is going to be on field. Now, some other options that you have are going to be like Ballad of the Boundless Blue. This was an event weapon, so if you started Genshin after the event, you won't be able to get it. But this does get up energy recharge as well as within 6 seconds after a normal or charge attack hits an opponent. Normal attack damage will be increased by 16%. Charge attack damage will be increased by 12% with a max of 3 stacks. This is at R5, so this can be really good for him. You'll be able to use your burst a lot, and you'll be able to get your charge attack damage up. Next, Prototype Amber. This is a 4-star craftable weapon that you have the recipe for whenever you start the game. This really gets up your HP percent as well as kind of regenerating some extra energy, keeping everybody's HP up a little bit. This will allow him to heal some and keep himself more healthy. And this is actually one of his best weapons, is Prototype Amber for the HP percent. Now, if you don't have any of those, you always have good old Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers. This is a great weapon specifically for the HP percent. The passive, not so much unless you're maybe running him with like a C0 Dia, which Dia gives him the interruption resistance. Then maybe you can work into it where you're going to Dia, giving her the attack bonus, setting up her skill, and then going back to Neuvillette. He really just wants the HP percent. That being able to use that passive is much more in a niche situation. So now we're going to talk about a team for Neuvillette. Now this is going to assume that you only have the characters that the game gives you. Kind of. We're going to go with Neuvillette, Kale, Xiangling, and Benny. Now Benny you could have gotten for free, so I'm allowed to use him in here. If you do not have Benny, you can always put Barbara in as well, and we'll talk about that in a second. So in this, we are going to be using these characters to cause bloom reactions with Kale because Neuvillette can cause so many bloom reactions as an on-field Hydro driver. Xiangling is going to appreciate the vaporized reactions. Benny is just there to heal and make Xiangling stronger. Benny's buff will not help Neuvillette, will help Xiangling. So what you can do is you can bring Xiangling out on the field with Benny's burst down, use her burst, swap back over to Neuvillette, and Xiangling will have that attack buff for the full duration of her burst. It's called a snapshot. I don't talk about snapshots a lot on this channel, but that's what that is. That's how that would work. So it would just be allowing Xiangling to get vaporized reactions. Neuvillette can also get some of those vaporized reactions. He can create the blooms. Xiangling could get some burgeons. Even Benny could get some burgeons. It's just something to get the elemental reactions for Neuvillette's passives. Now, if you are later in the game and you have access to more characters, then you can do a lot of different teams with Neuvillette. One of the best ones is going to be like a vaporized team, where you have like Neuvillette, Farina, Xiangling, and Benny. That is a phenomenal team. So you're going to have a lot of vaporized reactions. Farina is going to be buffing everybody. That's also going to give Hydro Resonance, which is great because it'll increase Neuvillette's max HP and Farina's max HP, what they both scale off of. So this is going to be a very, very good team for vaporized reactions. Outside of that, you do have a lot of different kinds of teams. You have like a Neuvillette Hyper Carry, where you're using like Neuvillette, Farina, Zhongli, and then like Kazuha. I threw Sucrose in here. I forgot that certs had Kazuha, and I didn't see him right in front of me. So I just threw Sucrose in here, but that's supposed to be Kazuha. So like Neuvillette, Kazuha, Zhongli, and Farina, this would very much be a Hyper Carry team, with Kazuha getting the VV shred for Hydro, making him deal more damage, giving him more HP, Zhongli protecting him, getting the enemy's resistance down. You even have some different teams that somebody in my community, Zucchini, runs, where he does Neuvillette, Raiden, I know Cookie's here, but pretend this is Raiden, Nahida, and then Dia. I know that Xiangling is here, pretend that's Dia. So, Neuvillette, Raiden, Nahida, and Dia. And this is a Hyper Burgeon team with Raiden and Dia built for EM, also giving him the interruption resistance from Dia's skill, and it's just insane what this team can do. Getting the damage from Neuvillette, getting the damage from Hyper Bloom and Burgeon, it's just insane. It's an insane team. I'd love to play it one day, but my Raiden is a Hyper Carry, my Dia is a Hyper Carry, in a way. And I don't have Neuvillette, so I can't. So that is going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, you be sure to leave it down in the comments below. Myself or someone else will be sure to answer it, and I'll see you in the next one.